A dinner where Canada was on the menu. At his Mar-a-Lago resort last November, Donald Trump proposed the US should swallow its northern neighbour. The Canadians there thought he was joking, but the punchline soon became policy with a plan to achieve it.
Economic force, because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. I spoke to Governor Trudeau on numerous occasions, and we'll see what happens, but it just sets up so good for them. I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state. Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like.
The Americans want our resources, our water, our land, our country.
I think for us, the talk about the 51st state, the talk about, the absolutely insulting behavior toward our former prime minister and referring to the governor of the state, it would be laughable if it weren't so serious.
King Charles looks set for an almighty clash with Donald Trump as his war of words with Canada reignite. King Charles took the opportunity this week to affirm his status as King of Canada in a speech to the Italian Parliament as a veiled show of support and strength.
We have remembered the British and Allied servicemen who gave their lives in the liberation of this country 80 years before. Tomorrow, in Ravenna, as King of the United Kingdom and of Canada, I will have the great honour of commemorating the 80th anniversary of the liberation of that province, together with President Mattarella, in which British and Canadian forces played a key role.
King Charles commemorated the anniversary of the Canadian flag and invoked the emotion he feels for the maple, taking to Instagram to say it never fails to elicit a sense of pride and admiration, as I recall with the deepest affection my many Canadian visits and friendships. The conflict with the US has ignited a sense of affection for the King and Britain in general. Recently, boisterous MPs hailed the King. And it seems Canadians are generally grateful for the King's show of support. Canadian PM Mark Carney warned he will inflict maximum pain on the US as tariffs start to bite.
Just yesterday, President Trump repeated his attacks on Canada. He said he doesn't want Canada, I'm quoting, to play any part in the American auto industry. So I'll be equally clear. This is Canada. We decide what happens here. The old relationship with the United States is over. We need to chart a new path. President Trump is trying to fundamentally restructure the international trading system. And in the process, he's rupturing the global economy. They're putting people's livelihoods in jeopardy. We are responding with purpose and with force, because we are masters in our own home. It's time now to realize Canada's full potential.
I have to address today's latest disrespect by President Trump of our country. While President Trump announced a 90-day pause on tariffs for dozens of countries, he kept those tariffs in place on Canada. Take that in for a moment. Almost every country in the world got a pause on American tariffs, but not us, America's best friend.
Explain exactly. You're a professor, you're a teacher. Most people don't even realize how tariffs work.
Okay. A tariff is a tax. It's just a particular tax that got that name. It used to be called import duty. All it means is when something comes into the United States that was produced outside and is brought in to be sold, it has to pay a tax, as literally as it crosses our border into our country. It is paid by the American company that brings it in, which may pass it on to the consumer, usually what happens, and the tax goes to Uncle Sam. It goes to Washington. Mr. Trump loved to suggest that tariffs were paid by the others, a little bit like Mexico would pay for the wall. Never happened. It's not going to happen here either. It's an American tax.
If we tax them, hit tariffs, the same item they're making over there will cost the same to make over here.
We pay the tariffs.
Well, the companies pay the tariffs, not us.
China doesn't pay the tariffs. We do when they come in.
No, it doesn't work like that.
Like if I'm buying 1,000 shirts from China and there's a tariff on it, I'm paying the tariff.
Well, no, whoever's getting it imported in is going to pay the tariffs.
Yeah. I'm the business owner. I'm paying the tariff. China doesn't pay it. I pay for it. So I'm trying to explain.
Who pays the tariff?
They're paying the tariff.
Do you think that? Do you believe that? I sell you something for $10, right? You're going to sell it to him for $20.
Exactly.
But then I make you pay me $15 for it. Are you still going to sell it to him for $20?
Am I going to sell it to him for $20?
If I raise the price $5?
Oh, it's going to have to go up.
Right. So
yeah, the consumer foots the bill.
Have a good day.
And there's something remarkable that clues you in to how big a change this is, that the Republican Party, which has branded itself as the anti-tax party for a century, is now imposing the most massive tax imaginable. Why this big change? Because we have big, big problems, and this kind of slapping the rest of the world is an attempt to solve a little bit of them, but it is not going to work because we don't have the power to do it anymore.
We're hopping on to the lily pad ride, traveling the world with dreams as our guide. Mountains to season city lights, join us as we take flight.